Am I wrong for paying for another bride's wedding dress but not my daughter's? My husband and I worked hard and managed to become financially secure adults after both of us grew up in poverty. We raised our children to work hard. We did not spoil them or provide them with a lavish life. As teens, they all had part-time jobs, but we did purchase them their own used cars, which they were required to maintain. We also paid for college and we paid for our oldest 2 kids' weddings. However, we were merely the ones paying and we did not provide any input or suggestions unless asked. The only thing we didn't pay for their weddings was our son's tuxedo and our oldest daughter's wedding dress. Our youngest daughter, Michaela, is engaged and we are paying for her wedding with the exception of her dress. She must buy her own wedding dress. Michaela invited her dad and I to watch her try on dresses with the bridal party. She found a beautiful dress in her budget and we were so honored to have been allowed to take part in her finding the dress and seeing herself as a bride. Hey, I really like these parents. They sound really dope. While there, I complimented another bride on a dress she was wearing, and her mother and I struck up a conversation where I learned that the family was low income and both the bride and groom and the bride's parents had taken out loans to have a beautiful wedding. I 100% disagree with people who have to take out loans to have weddings. Don't have the wedding. Have a party in your house. Go hurrah, buy a cheap white dress from like Ross or something, but you should never take out loans. That's how the system destroys us, because society has brainwashed us into thinking that you have to have this lavish lifestyle wedding. Why would you put yourself into debt over one night? Like, why? The bride is also plus sized, and I learned that she had been to 6 different stores and there had only been a few options for her size, and all of them had just been awful. The bride ended up falling in love with the last dress she tried on, but was heartbroken to learn that the consultant had misread the price tag and the dress was actually $1,000 over budget. And with alterations to make it her size, it was another $1,400. The bride took the dress off and said she'd try to find something online. I grew up poor and I was also a chubby kid. I was bullied and I was very unhappy. I always wanted more, and in this bride I saw myself, and I didn't want her to have to settle for a dress that fit versus a dress that she loved. So while my daughter was changing, I asked the other bride if I could pay the difference on her dress. It was very emotional. We all held each other and cried. She accepted. See, that's such a nice gesture though. Like, that is really sweet. I very happily paid the difference on her dress. Her mother, herself, and I are now friends on Facebook, and my husband and I have been invited to the wedding, which we will gladly attend. I felt very honored to have been allowed to help this girl in a very small way, but being invited to her wedding was so unexpected and amazing. When Michaela found out about this, she threw a fit and said that I obviously had shown how I truly feel about her wedding and herself, and if I cared at all, I'd have paid for her dress too. She's now not speaking to me or her father, who didn't even have a hand in this, which is unfair. She has now uninvited us from the wedding. We're so hurt and confused. Was I an asshole? Am I wrong for kicking my brother out for announcing his wife's pregnancy right after I announced my daughter had cancer? Just to make sure I represent both sides of the conflict, my brother and his wife suffered from not having kids for years. It impacted them greatly. They love the kids in the family but always wish to have kids of their own. Lately, we got busy with my daughter Megan, who is 12, with health problems. She started suffering from anemia, loss of appetite, and recurrent fevers. We've taken her to the pediatrician, and from there we've learned that she has cancer. It was so devastating, I didn't want to tell my family right away. Most of them have chronic conditions, and this type of news might trigger a negative reaction because they love Megan and would give everything to see her healthy. My husband and I decided to gather the family at my house this past Wednesday to announce Megan's diagnosis. My aunt didn't take it well because she holds Megan dear, so she was rightfully the most devastated one. After a few minutes of complete silence, my brother started moving in his seat, saying there's something very serious he wanted to tell everyone. He was hesitant, but then he and his wife stood up, and then he said that they found out that they were finally expecting. The family were conflicted. Some got up to congratulate them, and some remained seated. I remained seated, and my brother then approached me and expressed how sorry he was that they had to tell us in these circumstances, but said he couldn't wait since this is a huge deal for them after years of waiting and because everyone was present. Literally everyone was there since I said the announcement we wanted to make concerned Megan. I argued with him about how he thought this was an appropriate time and asked if Megan mattered to him at all, since he didn't take a minute to realize he was just diagnosed with cancer. He started reminding me how many years he and his wife suffered from frustration and disappointment for not being able to have kids, and argued that because he wasn't able to be a father until now, he's 37, he felt he was missing out on so much for many years, and that I didn't have to finally tell him congratulations, but should at least not guilt him for feeling overwhelmed and excited to finally be a father. He said I knew exactly how much he adores Megan and I shouldn't even think otherwise. Then said he was just sharing good news after hearing the bad news and there was nothing wrong with that. I told him and his wife to leave the house right then. He said he won't argue anymore because of how tense I felt, but will expect me to apologize at some point. Some family agreed with me, but my parents thought I shouldn't have taken my anger out on him like that, and that he'll always remember my reaction to the news he gave and should apologize after I'd calmed down. So, was I wrong for my reaction? Am I the asshole for ruining a pregnancy announcement by telling the woman she may have taken the wrong test? My husband and I recently invited 8 friends for lunch, and we were asked if we could also include a new couple, Doug and Sasha. We have never met them before, but everyone who was invited had, so we said sure. At one point during dinner, Sasha needed to use the restroom, and I told her to use the master suite since the other bathroom was occupied. I was helping my husband in the kitchen when Sasha came out of the room bawling and holding something in her hand. At first, I thought she hurt herself, but she said something to Doug that caused him to drop to his knees, cry, and begin kissing her stomach. All of our friends began screaming, jumping, and crying. It was insane. Finally, Sasha tells my husband and I that she is pregnant. Of course, we congratulate both of them, and then I give them a bag to put the pregnancy test in. I will admit, I did find it odd that she brought a pregnancy test and took it at a complete stranger's house, but I didn't say that out loud. Once everyone sat down to eat, Sasha looked over to me and said, "I hope you don't mind that I used one of your pregnancy tests. I just saw them and I had to." Looking at her confused, I responded, "I don't have any pregnancy tests." Sasha says yes, in your drawer. I asked Sasha if she meant the blue box in the back of my lower left drawer that was closed. She seemed to realize I was pointing out that she basically snooped around, and she sheepishly said the box said pregnancy for pregnancy tests. I said, "Sasha, the brand is Pregmate, and those are ovulation tests. I do not own pregnancy tests. Did you take an ovulation test?" Her husband freaked the absolute F out at me and said his wife was not an idiot and can read a box. He insisted Sasha get the test out now and show me that I'm wrong. Sasha refused, saying she didn't need to prove anything to a complete stranger and insisted they leave immediately. One of the couples thought that Doug and Sasha acted completely ridiculous, while the other 3 couples thought I should have pulled Sasha aside to discuss my concerns and said I was the asshole for saying something in front of everyone. Honestly, the whole situation caught me off guard and everything happened so quickly. The whole thing was bizarre and confusing. I just didn't have the time to put the pieces together mentally before asking about the ovulation tests. Also, I found out later through one of my friends that Sasha did take the ovulation test and she is not pregnant. Am I the asshole for wearing white at my blind cousin's wedding? I'd like to start by saying that me and my cousin, who was blind from birth, aren't very close, but we get along well as relatives. She sent me an invitation, though we don't talk as much, but since I wanted to take a break from work, I decided to go. My favorite color is white. I love wearing white because it brings out my skin glow and makes me feel comfortable and confident. I purchased a maxi white dress, nothing fancy, but goes well with my skin tone, and wore it to the wedding. There wasn't a big party with many guests, but sort of family dinner and small celebration. I really thought no one would even notice I was wearing white. My cousin and her husband obviously didn't know because no one told them. But my aunt kept giving me uncomfortable looks the entire evening, and so did my other cousin. Once I decided to leave, my aunt pulled me aside and berated me for wearing this color at her daughter's wedding. She said that just because her daughter is blind doesn't mean she's stupid and doesn't know what's going on around her, basically saying I brought negative energy and disturbed the celebration by having guests notice and by extension my cousins as well. She gave a lengthy lecture and asked if I hate to see her daughter happy and whether I pulled a stunt because my blind cousin got married before me. I was like, whoa, calm down, none of this was true. And married before me? I never thought of that. I just wore my favorite color and didn't do it because my cousin is blind and wouldn't notice. I argued with my aunt for trying to dictate what I wear, but she defended herself saying I was a guest and should have respected the bride. I left feeling very upset and exhausted from that encounter. My boyfriend said he believed I used the fact that my cousin is blind to wear white, but this didn't fly with her family. He pulled the "I told you so" line and said I just made my family hate me with that stunt. Even though he knows I always wear white, but he warned me that if my cousin finds out, there's going to be some issues. He suggested I get ready to apologize, but I really see no reason to apologize since I chose to wear a comfortable color that I feel confident in. So, am I the asshole for wearing white to her wedding? Tomorrow, I'm going to ruin his life. I have been with him for 3 years now. We planned on getting married when our lives settled down. I wanted to start a family with him. I loved him more than anyone else in this world. I've sacrificed so much for him, moved away from my home, turned down jobs so I could stay with him, and stood by his side as he started to go back to school. I gave him my world, and he cheats on me. I found out over a month ago. The scumbag got cocky, and I found out that he was cheating on me with 2 different women. One is a TA at his university. The other is his best friend's girlfriend. I am livid. I write this post choking back venom. I loved him so much. He was my world, but now he will be the world I burned to nothing but ash. I've paid for everything since he quit his job last year to go to school. I was more than happy to help him. I make enough to support us both. The only upside is that the student loans are in his name with no connection to me. It will hurt to push the scumbag out to sea, but I will survive. I have held out for a month, enough time to create what I call the day his world burns. Tomorrow we are hosting a party. I arranged for his family to come, but my family will sadly not be able to make it. I have packed everything valuable already in the suitcases in the back of my car. My brother will come during the event tomorrow to take the car that is in my name that the dirtbag drives to my parents' house. The joint account, which is all my money anyways, is already empty. The event will be great, and he thinks it's for us to announce our engagement to his family. What will happen in reality is, I will announce my departure from his life. I have already taken a job out of state and have lined up a new place to live. I will start by telling everyone what he is into. The screenshots of him asking his friend's girlfriend to piss on him and many other fantasies his degenerate mind came up with will be passed around. I will hand him the notice to vacate as I have already broken our lease. We will need to be out by the end of the month. I will then end off by informing him that I have already reported he was sleeping with the TA from one of his classes the previous semester to the university and that I am sad I won't see the fallout from that. His friend also has a message for him that I will deliver, informing him that his friend group will never want to see him again as well. And with that, I will leave. I will not look back. I will set his life on fire and walk away. Damn! But you know what? Bravo to you. Because if you're going to break up with someone and you really want it to hurt, this is how you do it. Calm, collective. She gave herself time to really process everything and didn't really just do it off pure emotion, and gave herself a really good setback plan to go back home, and she already has a job lined up. That's how you do it. I know it's hard, but like, we need an update.